In recent years, Hasbro's done a really good job of revisiting characters they've attempted in the past and improving on them. For instance, back when they did the Red Hulk Build-A-Figure wave, they tried to do a Tiger Stripe Wolverine, which was pretty much made of a retooled Toy Biz body, and it looked okay for its time, but they definitely came out with a much better one more recently from the Apocalypse Build-A-Figure wave. Same thing could be said with the Scarlett Spider. When they made this figure for the Rocket Raccoon Build-A-Figure wave, they used an updated, retooled Bullseye body, and even for that time, it was kind of dated. So recently, they put out a new Scarlet Spider from the S.P.D.R. wave, and that uses the Sunfire body, and that's much better. Another example is The Thing. Hasbro tackled Ben Grimm a couple of times, and it never really worked out, but recently they put out a Walgreens exclusive Thing, and it's pretty much perfect. And the same thing could be said with the rest of the members of Fantastic Four and Silver Surfer. And of course, there was Black Knight from the Brood series, the 2-pack Deadpool, and Namor from the Ronin series, all of which were pretty much some of the worst figures I ever owned. I never liked any of those three figures, and recently all those characters were revisited, and we have pretty much definitive versions of all three of them. And this really feels like something they're going to continue to do going forward, because at this year's Comic-Con, they revealed a new Hercules figure that looks like it's going to be a huge improvement over the one that they put out when they first received the license. And same thing could be said for the Vision figure that's going to come out in the upcoming Vintage wave. And then of course there's Guardian from Alpha Flight, and if he wasn't recently announced at the latest Canada Fan Expo, then he would have definitely been on my list. In fact, I think that he was the main reason why I wanted to make this list, because how much I like the Sasquatch figure, and there wasn't any other Alpha Flight figures to go with him except for the Marvel Legends Guardian that Hasbro did a couple years back, but that thing is garbage. I refuse to display it. But anyways, so let's get right into this list, starting with Forge. And I know a lot of people are going to scream at me in the comments that they've already kind of teased that they're going to do a new Forge, but they didn't really announce it yet, so I wanted to talk about it. And this Forge figure, when he first came out, it was in a 2-pack with Wolverine, which that Wolverine was a really horrible figure too. And Forge was kind of the highlight of the 2-pack, and it's not a really bad figure. It's probably one of the better uses of the retooled Bullseye body, but it just doesn't do the character justice. There are a few new parts like the lower arms and legs, but it has really bad ankles and ugly ball jointed hips and other things that just don't work. So I think if they tried Forge today, they do a really good job with it, and it sounds like that's exactly what they're going to do.
That's kind of interesting that we would do a Skullbuster and he was taken out by Forge. Interesting.
See it! Yeah!
That might be some Forge shadowing. You can't win them all. You can't win them all.
Next on the list, we have Banshee. And this Banshee figure was pretty interesting because I think it's the only time we saw this body. I don't think this was reused on any other figure before or after him. So I thought that was pretty cool. They gave him a unique body, but it just didn't really work very good for the character. I kind of like what they did with the wings here. But to me, Banshee always seemed like a badass, like government agent kind of thing. Never really cared whether he was with the X-Men or not. But this figure just didn't feel like that. This figure felt like a little kid throwing a tantrum dressed up as Banshee. I don't know, but I think that they could do a really good job with him these days if they tried. And another character that's in desperate need of a new figure is a comic book Hulk. This Hulk figure was really cool, but it had really bad ankles, and it was very artist specific. It was inspired by the Ed McGuinness artwork, and I think that's pretty cool. I like the artist specific stuff, but I think that Hasbro needs to revisit Hulk and give us a more general comic book Hulk, and I'm really surprised that they haven't. He's one of the biggest characters out there, and it seems like he's just kind of been ignored. This figure came out in the Fan Choice 2-packs, and I've always enjoyed it. It's always been in my collection on display, but I do think we need a new comic book Hulk. Next up, we have the Kree Soldier, aka the first appearance of Captain Marvel. However you want to look at this, I really think that they should take a look at this again, because this figure, even though they look cool when there's an army of them, just by itself, it's not a very good figure. It's another retooled version of the Bullseye body, and it was used poorly here. And another one from the Fan Choice 2-pack is Bucky. And I've always liked the sculpt on this figure. I think they did a really nice job with the paint details on him. And I just always thought this figure was pretty cool. But if they were to make it today, it would be a lot better. Again, he has the worst ankles ever, so it's really hard to get him to stand. And he's a repurposed Nick Fury, movie Nick Fury body. I think he shares the same torso, pelvis, and maybe upper legs. And now since he's in all the Marvel movies, it'd be a perfect time to revisit the Winter Soldier. And then now we have Spiral from the Red Hulk Build-A-Figure wave. And in some ways, this figure was ahead of its time because it's a female with double-jointed elbows. And they work really good, actually. But all the rest of the articulation is horrible. Check out the hips. They're really awkward. Again, you have the worst ankles ever. That was like Hasbro's favorite thing at this time. You have no hinge at the hand. You only have the swivel. But other than that, this figure is pretty cool. And I think just with some minor changes, this thing would be one of the best legends out there. But check out how they did the arms. I think they did a pretty good job with it. And I'm really surprised that it has double jointed elbows. I haven't messed with this figure in a while. It's just kind of been in my display and I don't look at it too often. But I think they did a pretty nice job with it, but if they implemented some of the things they have going on these days, it'd be one of the best female legends ever. Up next, we have Black Widow in her gray outfit, and this is what she wore when she was running around with Daredevil a lot, and I've always liked this look, but I've always disliked this figure. I don't like this body at all. It's too skinny. I don't like these hips at all. And I don't know, this figure just looks weird. It has the worst ankles ever again. And I like, the sculpt is okay, but it definitely needs an update. And now we're on to Phantom X, and this one just really upsets me. I've always liked Phantom X ever since the Grant Morrison new X-Men, and I loved him in X-Force. But man, this figure just sucks. I was really excited when they announced it. And then once I had it in hand, I wanted to like it so bad, but it's just garbage. And it's the same body that they used on that 2-pack Wolverine that came with Forge, and it wasn't good on Wolverine. It's not good on Phantom X. He has these weird gun gripping hands that you can't point straight, and then he has the worst ankles in the world, just like all those other Hasbro figures. And with Phantom X, it's a little worse because he has the jacket, so it's really hard to get him to stand between not having the good ankles and the weight of the jacket. And if you have him next to like the more recent X-Force stuff, he looks so out of place, and he just looks bad and awkward. And man, we just really need a new Phantom X. Please, Hasbro, give us a new Phantom X. And up next, I think that they should revisit the Future Foundation Spider-Man. They've been doing a lot of versions of Spidey, but mostly because all the stuff in the Spider-Verse. And I know that this is just pretty much a 616 Spider-Man when he was with Fantastic Four. But I really think that they should revisit it because it's on this really bad, once again, bullseye body. I think that they should throw it on the Sunfire body like they did with Scarlet Spider, and I think that would be a really cool figure. I've always loved the way this design looks and the whole idea of Spider-Man with Fantastic Four, so I think they should take another stab at it. And another character I think it'd make a lot of sense for them to revisit is Warpath. I'm not going to say this figure doesn't hold up because I think it's still a good figure, but it could definitely be improved on. And another reason why they should revisit it is because he's super rare, so it's hard to get. You probably can't find this figure for under $100 these days, and that kind of sucks because they're doing a lot of cool stuff with X-Force, and in my opinion, Warpath is one of those main 90s X-Force guys. When I think of X-Force, I think of Warpath, Shatterstar, and Cable. So I think they should revisit him, put him on the Omega Red body, and people would be really happy with that. And next on my list is the Jim Lee Jean Grey. And this figure isn't horrible, but this body is a little outdated. It's an older female body. We don't really see them using it too often anymore. And some of the articulation really sucks, like in the neck, there's pretty much no neck articulation. It's just a ball joint. The head sits right on there. And this figure is not that old, but it already looks dated, especially next to other Jim Lee inspired X-Men figures. As you can see here with Cyclops and Wolverine, those figures look more new than she does. And like I said, she's not horrible, but I think she would benefit from the same body that they used on the Phoenix from the Cyclops and Phoenix 2-pack. That one isn't as skinny and it looks a lot better. Or how about a brand new Union Jack? Again, Jack here is on the updated bullseye body with the added bonus of horrible ankles. So I think he'd benefit from being on the Sunfire body as well. And Hasbro has recently put out a new Captain Britain and a new Black Knight, and I think that he would look awesome with both of them. You can see this body really sucks. You can't even get him to stand up straight. He always looks hunched over. But yeah, I would love a new Union Jack. Or how about a new Savage Land box set? How cool would that be, especially with the recently released Sauron figure? This set was a Comic-Con exclusive, so it's hard to get anyways, and then once you get your hands on it, the figures are really underwhelming. Khazar here is on the same body as the 2-pack, I want to say Face-Off Punisher, and it just doesn't work for a guy that doesn't have any clothes on, so that was a poor choice there. And then the female, Shauna the She-Devil, is just, the sculpt is okay, but man, the articulation is horrible, but I think the head sculpt is actually pretty good. And then Zabu is pretty cool, but he looks bad. He doesn't look like an actual tiger. He looks like a transformer or something. But the reason why I say he's pretty cool is because the articulation is actually pretty nice on this guy. It's better than a lot of Hasbro figures at the time. So that's pretty impressive. But man, the sculpt just isn't very nice. The mouth opens up and that's pretty cool. But there's no like fur The little bit of fur details that are on him look blocky. So like I said, he kind of looks like a robot or a transformer. So he's not very good, but I think if they could find a way to keep the articulation and get some sculpted fur on there, it'd be a very popular figure. So that's it. That's my list of characters I think that Hasbro should try again on. Honestly, you could probably take any of the characters they did in the first few years of having the license and improve on them, because it's not like they made a bunch of perfect figures back then. So there's a lot of things that they could redo, but these are ones that stood out to me. These are figures that I have on my shelf or just have around that I was looking at, and I just realized how much we needed new versions of these characters. So I'm sure there's a lot of other ones out there. Please be sure to let me know in the comments what other characters you think that Hasbro should revisit. And one more I want to throw out there, but I didn't really include it in the list because I don't have the figure anymore, is Ronan the Accuser. That Build-A-Figure sucks, and it was a victim of Hasbro's poor articulation choices back in those days. And it was also based on a look that I don't think a lot of people necessarily wanted or preferred anyways. I think most people would have preferred the classic look, so I would love to see what they could do with him these days, especially since he's in movies and people actually know who he is. So it'd be awesome for them to put some love and care and give us a comic accurate Ronan the Accuser. And if you're interested in buying any of these figures, I left a couple Amazon links in the description below of some of the figures that were featured in this video, so you can check those out if you're looking. But I think that's it. So thank you very much for watching. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And thank you very much. Peace.